Hello, friends. Today is January 23rd, and it's Level 1 News Day again.
What topics?
I immediately forgot. Business and social media.
There you go.
So we just talked about Facebook.
What's going on in the business world? That means Tesla, right?
You know me.
Yeah,
I love to
Tesla.
start with Tesla. And what are they doing? They're cutting.
I don't know. So CNBC says Tesla's stock has sunk after cutting 7% of its workforce. 5 experts weigh in on what's next. But, I read the article. I didn't really see this as that negative. I mean, they got the Model 3 production up and running. I read another article that talked about how Toyota's EV production is actually pretty hurt by Model 3 sales. A lot of people are opting for the Model 3 over what Toyota is doing, which seems pretty positive.
Well, I think we have to admit that Tesla is number one in electric vehicles. I mean, you can't argue against that.
As much as we don't like Elon Musk, I'd say Tesla itself, though, is it's pretty successful.
But the question is, can they hold on to that number one position? And maybe this story out of CNBC will convince you.
Tesla has $920 million in debt that is coming due March 1st, and it could wipe out a large chunk of the company's cash. So if the stock price is not over $360 by then, they have to pay it out of their cash, and they've only got about $3 billion in cash right now.
$359.87, and I think their current stock price is $310, $320.
Yeah.
And on a downtrend because of the layoffs. So what can they do?
The layoffs is a bad thing, though.
What can they do between now and March to recover that stock price?
Sell lots of cars. Lots and lots and lots of cars.
I don't know. Is the end of winter a strong car buying period? I wouldn't think it would be.
When do people buy cars? That's a good question.
I mean, when they have to, usually.
I'll say. I waited until I drove mine, the wheels were falling off.
The car did not survive the winter. Yeah, it could be.
Well,
maybe after winter.
We've got layoffs. We talked about layoffs in SpaceX last week. Layoffs in Tesla this week. Perhaps Musk is paring those down to work harder on his newest venture.
Neuralink, a future with Elon Musk's Neuralink. And so this is just an article about Neuralink. It's a chip he wants to implant to give you a direct interface to the computer. Because,
in your head.
Yeah, because
your brain.
Your eyes and ears, fingers are too slow.
Krista, rate this stock photo.
I'm going to give this a solid 2 out of 10.
I don't like it either.
No. This is a picture I would scroll past on a stock photo site and laugh at and be like, what does this have to do with what I looked up? But
so Musk claims that when questioned about the insanity of this venture, he says, you already use your phone like this, right? He doesn't want to do anything different than what your phone does. He just wants to skip the slow interface of finger, screen, eye, brain. He just wants to pump that information straight in.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, I mean, they kind of have technology sort of like this where they have the thing where if you're comatose or you can't move, you can say yes or no with the computer screen. But that is extremely expensive and it requires a lot of work to get it
slow.
Yeah, and it's how is that going to be any faster if you're physically capable of...
I built an EEG once where I could play Tux Racer where you basically lean left or right.
Yeah, I mean, but
it was fun. It was wow, this is cool. And then I didn't care anymore.
Yeah, it seems like such a weird novelty. It just went from tweet to real company in a week as well.
Here's what I think. You know how we're always talking about how Musk and Bezos are the new supervillains. And I think what's going to happen here is Musk is going to draft Ray Kurzweil to spearhead this because, he wants to be a robot so bad. And then he's going to use that to control Kurzweil's evil genius or neutral genius and make him an evil henchman. But then, the good guys will eventually defeat him and deprogram him, and then he'll fight for good. Because that's such a common comic book story.
Well, see, if you added a love triangle in there, preferably a gay one, I'd say that'd be a great fan fiction.
Well, is Kurzweil? I don't think he's gay.
No, I don't think so. But that doesn't matter in fan fiction world.
But he one of his weaknesses will be he has to get his daily vitamins or he loses his powers. He takes 500 vitamins a day.
It'll be funny if he dies of liver failure.
Oh, that'll be hilarious.
Well, no, because of all the pills that he takes.
That doesn't make it any funnier.
Well, not funny. Funny's not the right word.
Ironic, maybe, yeah.
He does look amazing. I haven't seen him in a while, but that documentary, for as old as he was.
Yeah, maybe I should start looking into what he's doing because it's I'm starting to feel the getting older, things are starting to fall apart.
It doesn't sound like a fun lifestyle. I'll tell you one thing I guarantee he doesn't do is start every newscast with a raspberry chocolate.
Or bag of M&Ms.
Or Hershey Kisses.
I had a raspberry chocolate between the last 2 episodes.
Well, I gotta get excited for you guys. Excited.
There's a new CPU coming. She's hot. She's hungry. And she's not for you.
The Intel Core i9-9990XE, up to 5 gigahertz, auction only. So, Anantech, Ian Kuchis brings this article. The 9990, it's not 18 cores, it's 14 cores, but it's going to be 5 gigahertz. And system integrators can buy it on auction, 255 watt TDP, and it's not available for sale for the public. Only system integrators are going to buy it.
Who's it for? High frequency traders. That's who it's for. That's why it's auction, and that's why it is insanely fast, and the power requirements don't matter. Because it's literally going to be printing money. Or attempting to, at least.
Pretty much.
Well, we talked about Apple's phone replacement program, and they didn't want to do it.
The battery
They didn't
replacement.
like it, and probably cost them money, and now we know about how much it cost them.
Yeah, we've covered several stories on this. This is fascinating, but this also, so Apple replaced 11 million iPhone batteries on its $29 program, the reports say. But if you think back to that shareholder call with Tim Cook, now you know why there was such terror in his voice. Like, if you just listen to him, the things that go unsaid, he seemed terrified of repair. It's the first time that Apple has ever mentioned repair might be eating into sales. 11 million people opted to repair their old iPhone. That is what ate into their sales. And so there is a very real need to repair these electronics. But secondly, it's also viable to repair these electronics. Like, I think this is, inevitably, it's going to be this massive legal court battle.
No, how long will it be before they just start upping the price of the batteries?
Or, well, I mean...
That would be the easiest solution, I
Yeah,
would
but
think.
then they can't. Like, if their battery is so much more expensive than someone else doing it with an off-brand battery, then they can't make the argument.
They're already seizing batteries that are not necessarily marked Apple, but just say Apple compatible. And that it's like as counterfeit for importing.
You got to think, if the number was 11 million, that's at least 3 million lost sales.
Yeah.
At least. That's a lot of iPhones.
That is a lot of iPhones when your profit margin on an iPhone is what, like 40 to 60%?
So you're looking at like $400 or $500 million at least.
Yeah.
That you just flush down the drain with your stupid program.
We wanted to see how it would go. We wanted to crush all these repair people, and it's like, oh, it turns out that a lot of people want to repair their electronics. Because it turns out...
They're big investments.
Well, not just that they're big investments, but the software is not advancing at such a rate as to demand new hardware.
Well, 2019 continues the trend of being just under siege of fake phone calls, phone spam. I had a guy call me the other day, and he didn't say, he was like, I answered the phone, and I said hello, and he was like, yeah? And I was like, what? What do you want? And I was like, dude, you called me. He's like, I think you know that your number was on my phone. And I didn't even bother trying to explain it to him because he was such an asshole. I just hung up. But that's what you get because they're spoofing your calls. Well, if you're a Verizon customer, maybe some relief.
Engadget has the article, Verizon will give subscribers free access to anti-robocall tools.
In March.
Yeah, this is a band-aid.
Somehow that's going to take another month to get it roll out.
See, the thing with fake caller ID is that if it's a randomized number, maybe this can detect that, but then they're just going to pick more realistic randomized numbers.
I can't remember what they call it, but they've got something they claim will fight that. Stir shaken. I'm not sure exactly how that works. But going to get it in March, so I guess we'll see. They actually offer this already, but you have to subscribe to it. It's like $3 a month. But everybody gets it in March.
So Verizon doesn't actually want to get rid of spam, is what you're telling me? That if they can turn it into a profit center?
And then when it didn't work out,
wasn't there a movie about this where the guy was selling weapons to both sides?
Well, that's the conspiracy theory about the Illuminati. Well, you talk about Verizon, and we did have the deregulation of the text messages, and a lot of people said we need this to fight spam, and a lot of people said, a lot of good text messengers are going to be caught in this. Who is a good text messenger? Well, it's up for debate. I don't know if I agree with this is good or not.
Verizon charges new spam fees for texts sent from students to teachers.
No, other way around.
Well, from
Teachers
sent from
to
teachers to students, yeah. Remind is the company. It says it must end free text messages for Verizon users because of the new fee. So Verizon is charging companies in order for their text messages to make it. This might be a good way to explain net neutrality to normies, because you have a service and you receive text messages and you want this service, but Verizon is not going to let this service reach you unless Verizon also gets paid. Now you're already paying for your phone. You should be able to receive messages. But Verizon is saying, no, you send a lot of text messages, we're going to charge you a fee to do that. I don't think that should be legal.
This particular program was like, if a teacher said like, oh, you have a field trip coming up, they would send a reminder text to students that night. Or you have an assignment due, whatever.
Could be very questionable whether or not the students actually want these text messages.
Yeah.
Do you think Remind has ever unknowingly been, a part of one of these female teachers seducing the young boys?
I think it would send a mass text to your entire class, right? Not just to individuals.
I don't know. Maybe you could target it. You could probably create little groups. Oh, Boiler Snake is super turned on by hot teachers and young boys. I keep telling them, it's like, dude, you got to quit searching for that on Google. But yeah. Well, we talked about the bounty hunter buying location data. That's been a big story, and one by one, the big phone companies are bowing down, and this week is no different.
Sprint to stop selling location data to third parties after the Motherboard investigation. Now, this headline is from January 16th, 2019. Just want to make clear that they also said they were going to stop selling location data in June of 2018, which did not happen.
But I think
it might this time, though.
No, I think they did stop selling it to that one prison company. That they got caught. That's so this time they're going to stop selling it to the bounty hunters.
Oh.
Next time you're going to be like, hey, they already did that. No.
Just the
Next time there'll be someone else that they're selling it to. That's different. That's different. Yeah. Well, here's an engagement challenge. Are you one of the few, the proud, the Windows 10 mobile users?
Microsoft has suggested that Windows 10 mobile users switch to iOS or Android as support winds down. Yeah, this is a dead platform.
Yeah, I didn't know Windows phones were still really a thing. I don't know anyone who owns a Windows phone.
Microsoft literally murdered Nokia, the indestructible phone company. Their phones are indestructible, and Microsoft killed them from within.
Well, their shield was down. They trusted them. They were asleep.
And Microsoft literally sent Hugh back to the Borg, and it destroyed the collective.
Listen, this is great that they're killing off this phone, but can they just kill off i11 too, please? It's caused me more headache in the last 2 weeks.
i11. We've learned that governments still like to use it.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's just scary. Well, Netflix is a juggernaut. We all know how powerful they are, but we didn't know exactly how powerful because they don't release numbers, but they have given us one little tease.
It has captured 10% of all TV time in the U.S. and discloses some colossal numbers for its shows, according to CNBC. So I think this is done strategically ahead of some pretty substantial price hikes because their stock is going to tank after those price hikes.
Yes, and those big numbers they announced were what they are going to pay in the coming year for shows.
And it's a lot.
It is astronomical. But how are they going to pay for it? Well, how are you going to pay for it?
Netflix raised prices and the stock has soared. So I think this is a temporary situation. I think it's going to go down a whole bunch. But after people are like, what? And then they just abandon.
8 to 9 for the pleb tier, 11 to 13 for the normie, and 14 to 16 for that 4K. Deliciousness.
I got rid of Netflix maybe 6 months ago, and I haven't really missed it.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking because I'm on the $14 tier now, and that's like what, really?
I was paying I think 11 or 12, and I just wasn't using it enough to warrant it.
I think if I were the business development people in Netflix, I would be looking at the cable TV people, because the cable TV people are racing toward $200 a month, and people are cutting the cord like crazy. So if you're a new subscriber on Netflix and you're not used to the lower price and you're coming from cable TV, I think you're going to be happy. Even if it was like $25 a month, I think you would be happy.
maybe.
But
But
they'd
I
get
don't
rid of a
know.
lot of long-time subscribers.
Yeah,
for
a lot
that.
of the long-time subscribers will be super upset.
But what I will do is what I started out doing. I'll just buy gift cards
Yeah.
so that I can take months off.
Now, if they really want to have their cake and eat it too, they should announce that those prices apply to existing customers, but new customers are going to be $25 a month, and then everybody will not cancel their subscription to avoid getting the higher fee.
new
But
fee.
then they'll also just share their accounts
Yeah.
and resell their accounts.
Yeah, resell. That's a cool idea.
We can deal with that technologically.
Maybe. I don't know. I say that I'm going to get rid of Netflix, and I'm thinking about it, but I watched a lot of the new Punisher season yesterday.
Oh, is that
I'm
out? I watched the first season. It was okay.
I like it
was
really.
okay.
I really like the first season. The thing I loved about the first season is it didn't waste your time. It was like story, pretty decent story, and then just shooting guns.
I feel like Stan Lee was standing over the writers because I got the same thing, and Stan Lee was like, "Look, this is the Punisher. He punishes things," and then they would start to go,
Right,
and then he was
yeah.
like, "No, this is the Punisher.
Yeah.
He punishes things."
He hasn't killed
Shoot
anybody
more.
in like 20 minutes. The first episode of the season 2 is just steaming pile of shit. It is absolutely unwatchable. There's almost no killing people in it. It's all just like this.
Backstory
It's like
melodrama.
a little romance, and the dialogue speed has been at least halved in season 2. Like they're just staring at each other pensively and talking slowly, and I don't know what happened to that series.
Maybe I won't watch it.
Speaking of things becoming slow and unexpectedly watered down, could that be true for the F series?
TechCrunch has the article: Could Ford's iconic F Series trucks? No. Ford's iconic F Series.
It is not a question.
Are going electric. I was like,
It's
could they still be
happening.
crappy?
It's not a question. It's actually going to happen.
So is this why they're parking in Tesla superchargers?
No, they're doing that just because they're assholes.
Yeah.
Those are gas ones. These ones haven't been released yet.
But now I don't know enough about the. We know the electric motors directly in the wheels are faster than
More
gasoline
efficient.
cars. Well, they're faster too. Like the Model S is. I don't know how much it weighs, but it's a super fast car for the price. But for like super duty towing and hauling, are they as good?
Oh, you can get insane torque, but I
Well,
think
torque
you're-
is the hauling end of the
Yeah.
like horsepower for top speed, torque
Most
for.
people I know who own a F Series truck, like they work on a farm in some capacity, or like they work in construction. I couldn't see someone like that.
But I also see, you take it out into, like, let's say you're working on construction or mining, then you almost use it as a portable power system as well.
Yeah.
But you need that fuel to run the batteries. And, like, I don't know, you're in a place where you can't recharge it easily.
I think the physics of the situation in general terms is that if you had a supercapacitor to get you from like resting up to whatever RPM you need, and then you could draw from the battery consistently, like you weren't dumping a bunch of energy from the battery all at once to get everything up to speed, that is the most energy efficient from like if the battery slowly charges a supercapacitor and then it's like, okay, I'm going to mash the gas and get a ton of torque and it's draining the supercapacitor. Maybe something like that would work really well, but the F-150 with like the usage model, I don't think it'll, because even the Tesla, like when the Grand Tour or I don't know if it was Grand Tour or when they were doing the Tesla testing, the battery would only last 51 minutes on their test track.
Well, the F-150, I think, is fine because that's like a sort of light duty truck. The F-350, the six-wheeler,
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
It's going to be like 3/4 of the weight's going to be battery or something probably. That seems crazy.
I don't know. We'll see. That's definitely going to be. You're going to take some ribbing from your other giant truck owning friends if you're the first to roll out with the electric Super Duty.
If it saves them a bunch of money though on like fuel costs, they might let up on
Maybe.
the jokes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Not going to make cool noises either.
Yeah.
Well, IBM is in a bit of trouble after they're being accused of age discrimination.
Now, we've covered this story a couple of times in the past, but the Register has this article here. IBM HR made me lie to the U.S. government, says axed VP in age discrimination legal row. I was ordered to cover up layoffs of older workers. I could not find a U.S. source for this, but if there's any truth to this, Big Blue is going to be in so much trouble.
Why didn't they just spell out discrimination?
Maybe the field, like when they entered into the website. Maybe it like had a character
It was
limit.
one word per field? Because that's a giant headline.
Maybe it's so big they couldn't get it any shorter.
So
like they had to cut something.
This woman, who ironically enough was in her 60s, worked in HR, and she was just laying people off. It's like, oh, this is what I do. And she started to notice the trend. They were all over 50, and she blew a whistle, and she was out. So now she is doing her own age discrimination suit.
Listen, it's not that, and it's so not that. We can't have you even saying that it might be that, so you have to go.
And I don't even think it's as much that older people don't perform as well. It's just that, your salary goes up, your benefits go up.
You don't respond to the fire drill. Oh my God, we're going to lose the client.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's like, I've been to this rodeo for 20 years now. Get over it.
You've learned that that's just, business as usual, and it doesn't have to, you don't have to freak out. And definitely, you probably don't respond well to the fresh new manager who's an idiot. And they probably
some of that,
are angry about that.
I've been to the Newton School of Modern Management for Millennials and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you're an idiot. Just go away. Let me do my job.
I love those stories about in Vietnam, they'd bring in the West Point boys. And it's like, he's in charge of your unit. And they get him out in the jungle and be like, listen, shut up or we're going to kill you. Well, if you have a GPS app on your phone, you might want to take an extra look at it.
Well, if you're watching this show, you're probably not an idiot, but ZDNet has the articles.
You are making such an assumption.
Yeah, that's a big assumption.
Have you read the comments?
Some Android GPS apps are just showing ads on top of Google Maps. Apps have been downloaded over 50 million times collectively, and Google has failed to remove them even if they blatantly break their own license. Literally, these apps just put ads on top of Google Maps. They're for people that are like, do I need a GPS program? And they download it. You don't need that. You have maps on your phone. It's built in.
Default, yeah.
You literally already have that.
This is like going to Google and typing in www.weather.com in the Google search bar.
I've seen it happen.
And clicking the first link. That's what this is. Except they make money from it.
When you do that too many times, Google sets an idiot mode on your profile, and it's real hard to get that turned off.
How did you learn that, Wendell?
Helping people.
Oh.
Well, the other thing that Google's doing that's kind of surprising is raising some prices, the G Suite. And this is an amazing headline.
Google raises G Suite prices by 20%, and it now costs more than Office 365. That is baffling. Because Office 365 is a much more complicated product than G Suite.
A much more capable product. And you can get offline versions of Office 365. You can actually download the desktop versions at no cost if you have the subscription. And Google does not offer that.
Can you imagine if Google was putting all of their money, like if you wanted an offline version of Office, if they were dumping some of their G Suite money into like Open Office or LibreOffice or something like that?
How about some of their Dragonfly money?
They could be making the open source world better. Instead, they're working
They don't care about that. They care about making money.
Yeah.
Not making the open source world better.
Demonetized.
Oh, well. Well, at Verizon, one thing so they like charging you for text messages. They don't like spam. And they very much don't like unions.
Union busting 101. Documents reveal Verizon's attacks on organized labor. So this is documents handed out to managers at Verizon wireless stores, I think.
Yes.
And there's a lot of really interesting stuff in there.
This is in response to a couple of stores that did manage to unionize. And a couple of other stores that, like, they were going to vote. So the way it works is like a certain percentage of the people in the store have to want to do it. And if there's any small percentage of outliers, then you'll lose the chance to vote for another year.
Mm.
So the managers actually got to a couple of people and turned them, and they were too afraid to vote. So it's sort of like this ongoing battle of like, hey, how many turncoats can we get here? And so they're doubling down, and someone leaked their internal documents.
The strategy.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of fascinating, the level of psychological manipulation that's in the document.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of torn on unions because certainly these corporations are evil, but I think the unions themselves
are very susceptible to the same level.
Are cancerous, yeah, eventually, especially these big. When you talk about like the auto worker union and stuff like that,
is everything terrible?
And then they become political,
yeah.
And then it gets really weird. So I don't know.
It start out just. It's like Amazon. It's like, I just want a potty break. And somehow that turns into, we have to like bust these people to somewhere in like red hats. And it's just, how did we get here? How did we get here?
Well, if you've always wanted Bitcoin, but just weren't smart enough to figure it out, like all the online stuff, and you're like, man, I don't know. I'd love to be part of the Bitcoin revolution, but can I just give you some cash?
Yes.
Good news.
Coinstar machines will start selling Bitcoin at the grocery store. I wonder what kind of VIG they're taking, because the VIG that they take for converting change to cash is kind of high.
This is such a bizarre thing, but it's also like it's kind of cool in a weird way.
You know what drives me crazy about the Coinstar thing is if you go to a bank with your coins, they usually will just turn you away.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, you're a bank. I have currency. I want to put this currency in the bank. And they're like, no, our machine gets broken because of nails. So yeah, Coinstar takes a huge hit. And now you don't have to use loose coins to buy your Bitcoin. It's the good news. You can use paper money if you want. But I think they will take. Also, it's not just going to like print out a key for your Bitcoin. You're going to get a CoinMe account. And then you have to transfer it out. They probably take a piece there too. But you can do it if all you got is cash. This could be huge for money laundering.
Well, Bitcoin's not doing so hot, right? Did we check how much it was before we started recording?
It's not doing good.
Yeah, it's where it has been.
It's on life support.
Yeah, it's resting quietly.
Coinstar probably made that deal months ago, and they just now got it implemented.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, dang it.
Well, moving
Crap.
on to social media, Facebook is facing a record-setting fine, although the record is kind of low.
U.S. regulators have met to discuss imposing a record-setting fine against Facebook for privacy violations. U.S. regulators are a little slow on the uptake. We're running, like a year and a half behind?
Well, at least they're doing something, right?
2 years behind?
Even during the shutdown. So the record is 22.3 million against Google. So it'll be more than that, but we don't know how much.
And we don't know if anything will really come of this, or if this is some sort of dark negotiation for something else.
Even if it's 30, I think Facebook is like, oh, we thought you were serious. You want that in cash? Now this headline, I have to remind you, and I know I've said this before, but once again, it bears repeating. When these studies come out, we're not talking about the average Facebook user. I mean, maybe we are, but we're talking about people who are stupid enough to pick up the phone and actually answer a poll.
Most Facebook users don't know that it records a list of their interests, new study finds. 74% of people weren't aware of Facebook's methods. So yes, this was phone survey things, but apparently the people that answered the phone, they somehow were able to pull the
Well, they told them it was like, hey, log into Facebook and type in this URL and they'll show you what they know about you.
Yeah, 51% of people were very surprised that it had a list as accurate as it was.
But again, okay,
People that answered the
that's
phone.
51% of people who didn't say like, are you stupid? I don't have time for this.
Yeah. Or
I'm
just hung up
busy.
immediately.
The other 49% were like, look, I am cripplingly lonely. And it's okay that Facebook is building this profile because I can have some human contact that way.
They logged onto Facebook and it was like, oh, my grandson won the basketball game.
I love that.
He's so good at the basketball.
Crippling loneliness is a very powerful thing to let people do terrible things to.
But it doesn't represent the population.
No.
So.
Or they forget that they had like one grandson, and Facebook reminded them when they looked at it. Oh right, I have 7 grandkids.
I forgot.
I have to go. I have to send them a birthday card.
Well, speaking of Facebook grandkids, it turns out that they are also a little bit confused about Facebook.
Lawsuit reveals how Facebook profited off confused children. According to the report, Facebook failed to refund parents whose children accidentally bought games. I don't know how much I believe accidentally, but I would totally believe that it's like grandma's like, here, I signed up for whatever. And then it's like, oh, I had no idea that this was happening.
And they could keep charging you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't love Facebook or anything, but I say these people should have to pay every cent.
I know somebody's grandma that spent they're on fixed income and they're very poor. And they spent probably $200 or $300 on, I think it was Plants vs. Zombies upgrades. Remember like Plants vs. Zombies, like the Facebook edition? And it was just like,
well,
what are you doing?
That's an important lesson. Yeah, hey, don't do that.
They didn't remember that they had given it the credit card for something else. I was like,
monitor your children.
Yeah.
Or
you're elderly,
as it turns out.
Case may be.
I mean, think about all the horrible things that your kids could be into. They could be joining ISIS. You have to pay attention to what they're doing.
Oh, thank goodness they were only buying upgrades in Plants vs. Zombies.
Plants vs. Zombies is fairly benign.
Considering what else is on the internet. They could be on 4chan.
Well,
no paid upgrades there.
Yeah.
Facebook has fallen. It is no longer on the throne. But the good news for them is they still own the throne.
WhatsApp is now Facebook's most popular app. So they spent $500 million on this. I guess that was a good investment. Now,
Wasn't it? I thought it was like $19 billion.
Was it?
I
thought it was $500 million. This thing talked about that.
$19 billion.
Oh, $19 billion. Wow. Good Lord.
Wow.
Well, that was $19 billion well spent.
Oh, it was 450 million active users, not dollars. Active users.
Oh.
I knew there was $500 million in there somewhere.
So now it's quite a bit more than that, and it's number one. And you got to give it up. I mean, say what you want about Zuckerberg, but he saw the writing on the wall, and he knew exactly what to do about it. Of course, he was spying and manipulating us psychologically to get that information. But hey, all's fair, right?
And he is not resting because they're working on something else in that same vein.
I have a feel. So somebody else invented WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
And he just bought it.
Yeah.
That's the move. That's what he should be doing. Because when he tries to come up with stuff, you get something like this.
Facebook said to be secretly working on a LOL meme hub app.
It means laugh out loud.
In case you guys didn't know.
So here it is. Krista, design.
It's one of those features that shouldn't even exist, that there is no good design for it. It's just, why?
Fair enough.
Why is it there?
And it might not be a Facebook feature. It might be a standalone app, just like WhatsApp. But it's going to be for children to trade
find
memes. Yeah. Memes.
What a great use of time.
I have a feeling that Zuckerberg somewhat understands what that means. He doesn't.
Surely how old is he?
He doesn't understand why the humans enjoy it. But he does understand what it is.
That's true. His body is young, but his robot interior is much older.
Isn't that how the robots are always depicted in science fiction? It's like it takes them thousands of years to really comprehend something that we innately, like the humanity of whatever.
Yeah.
Humor.
But they're better at everything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, another problem at Facebook is some people at Facebook seem to be drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe mainlining the Kool-Aid.
Or maybe they're just being paid to drink the Kool-Aid.
Facebook employees busted leaving 5-star reviews for Portal on Amazon. Portal is like Amazon's Alexa with a camera and a screen.
But it's for Facebook.
It has to have a camera, of
manufactures
course,
it.
because it's Facebook.
Yeah. And the reviews are like, wow, I can have video calls with my family. This is way better than the phone. It's amazing. It's from people inside the company, which you're not allowed to do.
Oh, there was only 3 instances of that. But there was 3 really long, glowing reviews. Enough that people were like, wait a minute. And actually checked, and it's like, yeah. And that's against Amazon's policy, by the way. You cannot review your own company's products.
So I think emails have been, according to Twitter, the guy on Twitter, emails have been sent to these employees to ask them to take their reviews down.
Yeah. And he claims there was no internal collusion. It was totally, they were operating on their own.
They just really loved it.
Rogue actors.
That much.
Really, really loved it. It also shows that they were verified purchases from Amazon, which means that Facebook didn't even give them a free one.
Yeah.
So they reimbursed them.
Zuckerberg. Well, Twitter. Now, Wendell, you have admitted that even though you have a crippling Twitter addiction, you will not go so far as to install the app.
I have refrained from installing the app. The app actually has some compelling features, and I have not installed it.
But it also has reasons not to use it.
A Twitter bug exposed some Android users' protected tweets for years. Well, yeah. So you could have done the protected tweet thing, which means that only people that you have pre-screened, I guess, can see your tweets. Except if you were on Android and used the app, in which case maybe that didn't happen sometimes.
If you changed any settings, you could have lost that setting.
What?
Yeah.
Every time that we read this story, I'm like, what is the point of having a protected tweet that you only show one person? Can you just text them?
Oh, I bet that the thoughts do it. So you have this inner circle of your sugar daddies.
Wouldn't you do that with page? Aren't there other alternative services that do that better?
Oh, these girls don't want tax records.
That's true. But now Android's opened it up.
Krista, you're so innocent. Of course, there's usefulness for that. I mean, plus it gives those guys a feeling of, like there's something special. So they'll keep sending that money every month in a garbage bag dropped off at our doorstep on a certain date, predetermined. Well, we've talked about, let's see, there was the hot water challenge. There was the bird box challenge. There's the Tide Pod challenge.
The Helen Keller challenge, which is a variation of the bird box challenge.
Which no one has done except you.
Well, I did as a kid because, I wanted to see what it was like to be like Helen Keller.
There were several other ones that I'm not thinking of. But the challenges must stop.
YouTube has cracked down on harmful and dangerous challenges and pranks. So that means Logan Paul's banned, right?
Both of the Paul brothers. There's a picture of them in the article.
Well, it's interesting that you would use a word like banned. Because here's what's going to happen. You will go on a little bit of a probation for 90 days. You will be asked to delete the offending video. And in that 90 days, if you do another stupid challenge, you will get a strike. At the end of the 90 days, presumably, you go right back to your stupid challenges until you get another probation.
So it seems like that's easy enough.
Seems like they might know that they make a lot of money from these challenges.
Yeah. How do we walk that line?
Blindfolded.
You don't walk that line because they don't really care about the kids who mimic this. They just want money.
I weep for humanity.
Well, Friday, you can weep a little bit more as we take a look at nonsense and robots. And
nonsense cheers me up.
Just a little bit of design.
Yeah,
Do we have anything else? I don't remember.
The design story could very well be in the nonsense section.
Maybe maybe something else I don't remember. Don't remember if there was another topic, but there might be.
See you Friday.